Once in a small village there lived a laborer. Every day he worked by digging up soil from the ground. He would load the soil onto his donkey and then go to sell it in the market. This was his routine. One day while digging, he found a stone buried in the soil. The stone was bright and shiny, but he had no idea about its real value. He thought it was just a nice-looking piece of rock. Without giving it much thought, he tied it around his donkey's neck like an ornament and carried on with his work. The next day, as he was walking through the village with his donkey, people looked at the shiny stone. Among them was a wealthy merchant who owned a small grocery shop. The merchant noticed the sparkling stone and stopped the laborer. "What is this shiny thing tied around your donkey's neck?" the merchant asked. The laborer smiled and replied, "Oh, this is just a stone I dug out of the ground yesterday. It looked different, so I tied it to the donkey." The merchant kept staring at the stone. He liked how it looked and thought it might be useful to decorate his shop, so he said, "Will you sell it to me?" The laborer thought for a moment and replied, "Yes, why not? If you want it, you can take it for 50 rupees. The merchant immediately agreed, paid him 50 rupees, and took the stone. He tied it to the weighing scale in his shop so everyone who came in could see it. Customers noticed it every day and admired how beautiful it looked. One afternoon, a jeweler came into the grocery shop. As the jeweler waited for his items, his eyes were drawn to the stone hanging from the weighing scale. He was a man who had spent his entire life working with precious gems, and he knew at once that this was no ordinary rock. It was a diamond, and a very large one at that. His heart began to beat faster. He tried to hide his excitement and casually asked the merchant, "That's an interesting-looking stone you have there. Where did you get it?" The merchant, proud of his discovery, told him the story of the laborer and his donkey. The jeweler, maintaining his composure, then asked, "How much would you sell it for?" The merchant, seeing the jeweler's interest, thought he could make a quick profit. He replied, "Well, since you're a jeweler, you must know its value. I'll sell it to you for 1,000 rupees. The jeweler couldn't believe his luck. The stone was worth at least 100 times that amount, perhaps even more. He immediately agreed, paid the merchant the 1,000 rupees, and walked out of the shop with the diamond, his mind already calculating the immense fortune he had just acquired. The merchant felt clever for doubling his investment so easily. The next day, the jeweler returned to the merchant's shop. He had cleaned and polished the stone, and now it shimmered with an internal fire that was breathtaking. The merchant's jaw dropped when he saw it. "Is that the same stone?" he asked in disbelief. "Yes," the jeweler replied. "It is. It's a diamond, one of the finest I've ever seen. I sold it this morning for 100,000 rupees. The merchant's face turned pale. He sank onto a stool, the weight of his missed opportunity crushing him. 100,000 rupees. He had held a fortune in his hands and sold it for a pittance. He had been so focused on making a small, quick profit that he failed to see the true value of what he possessed. The merchant felt a deep regret. He had been a trader his whole life, yet he had made the most foolish trade of all. He thought about the laborer, who was completely unaware of the fortune he had found and given away. Then he thought of his own foolishness, his hesitation, and his lack of vision. He had a chance, an opportunity to change his life, but he settled for a small gain instead of investigating the true potential. The jeweler, however, was a man who understood value and seized his opportunity without hesitation. He did not second-guess his knowledge. He acted on it. This story teaches us a powerful lesson about opportunity. The laborer, through ignorance, did not recognize the value of what he had. The merchant, through a lack of foresight and a desire for a small, safe profit, recognized some value but failed to grasp its full extent. He hesitated to investigate further, content with what seemed like a good deal at the moment. He saw a shiny rock, not a life-changing gem. His fear of loss and his contentment with mediocrity blinded him to the immense possibility right in front of him. The cost of his waiting, his hesitation to truly understand what he had, was the difference between 1,000 rupees and 100,000 rupees. In our own lives, opportunities often appear in unexpected forms, much like the stone found in the dirt. They might not look like grand, life-altering chances at first. They can be a new idea, a challenging project, a new relationship, or a skill to learn. Like the merchant, we can choose to see them as small, easy gains, or we can take the time to see their true, underlying potential. We can settle for the 50 rupee profit, or we can aspire to the 100,000 rupee fortune. Seizing opportunities requires more than just luck. It requires vision, courage, and the willingness to act. It means not being afraid to investigate, to learn, and to take a calculated risk. The regret of a missed opportunity, the what if, is often a much heavier burden to carry than the risk of failure. Don't be the merchant who stares at the weighing scale, forever reminded of the fortune he lets slip through his fingers. Be the jeweler who recognizes value, acts decisively, and reaps the rewards. Because the greatest cost is often the cost of waiting. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a new video whenever we release one. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications. See you in the next video. Until next time.